This is the Effing One Podcast, Australia's only Formula One podcast with Adam and Luke.
G'day and welcome to the Effing One Podcast. It's Australia's only dedicated Formula One podcast recorded in this house. We are looking back at the Monaco Grand Prix for this episode, and we are looking forward to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Baku. Interesting times. F1 is abundant with allegations of Daniel Ricciardo may not have a drive at the end of the year. Who would he drive for? Where would he go? Could it be Haas? Fantastic driver for Haas. A great pickup in changing up of Junior Schumacher. Daniel bring bums on seats to the Haas holes. There could be a seat at Alfa Romeo. Oscar Piastri is going to come in. Where's Alonso going to go? Who's going to go to the McLaren drive? Is Daniel going to stay there? I hope he does. But Daniel needs to change a couple things about his driving style, and I think we all know that. It's not uncommon for a lot of the newer drivers, the younger drivers, to be doing a lot of sim racing, and sim racing take on a whole different type and races of IndyCar, Formula One. They're driving trucks, they're driving buses, they're driving anything with four wheels, and having a crack, changing their driving style and really adapting to whatever they're thrown at. Some of them, even Max Verstappen did a V8 supercar, one of the supercar rounds they did last year during COVID. And I think it's important to change and sort of reset. This man is Daniel Ricciardo can drive in a box. This is his box. If the car is not within this box, he's not going to get the maximum out of it. And it's either to McLaren to engineer the car to fit that box, or Daniel has to really adapt his style. Everyone's had to adapt to this style of car this year, and once again, it's not fitting in his box. If it's in his box, I'm saying box a lot. For those of you lady listeners, Daniel likes being inside the box. There is a very different way that he drives when he's in that box. He is confident, he is capable, and he can take on anyone. But when it's outside that box, he's a bit shit, and that's okay. But if he wants to stay in F1, if he wants to be a bit powerhouse, he needs to be able to adapt and adjust. Will it happen in time? Will Zach Brown be happy enough? Daniel needs to get a podium before the summer break. If he's going to be confident to go forward. It's not just a one-hit wonder of a win, but it also needs to have a bit of consistency, some more point scoring, and to out-qualify and out-race his teammate Lando Norris, who's doing fantastically well in that car. And you only get to be judged against your teammate, and right now Lando is pantsing him left, right, and centre. Now, the Monaco Grand Prix. During one of the, I think it was first practice, Paul di Resta, one of the highlights of the weekend for me. Paul di Resta was referring to retardation, and just as Lance Stroll came on the TV. It was a beautiful moment that was just timed to perfection. He was talking about retardation, and there's Lance Stroll, front and centre. It's kind of like the F1 producers knew what Paul di Resta was talking about. Let's cut to Lance. They nailed it. The TV director very rarely nails a telecast in Formula One, but they did it this time. Lewis Hamilton's helmet, or Lewis's helmet, was inspired by his favourite crystal. Now, I'm also inspired by his favourite crystal, and I went out and bought one. I bought some meth, and it was delicious. And Nerang has some of the finest meth production in the world. Something that would be the man himself, Walter White, would be proud of. It wasn't blue. It was a shade of pink, which I think our local meth maker accidentally cut himself, and that leaked into it. But a bit of an irony taste, but it still did the job and got me where I wanted to go. So everyone out there, go and get your favourite crystal. Don't put on a helmet, that's silly, but pay homage to it. Be inspired by your favourite crystal, which for him was an amethyst. Now, I am over the FIA. Bring back Michael Massey. Now, they can't start a race because the drivers haven't had any wet running over the weekend. Now, I'm sorry, but these are supposed to be the finest drivers motorsport race car drivers in the world, sure, they can't reverse park, but that's not what they need to do. They need to be able to drive a car in all conditions. Gusty winds, rain, torrential rain. That's the part of a Formula One driver. You can always have a wet race and go, oh well, guess what, boys? You're chucking on the wets. They're not going to suspend the race and go, hey, maybe we should have a practice session for wets. No. They know what they're doing. Start the race, everyone take off, and sure, 15 minutes later the race would have been red flagged when there was too much rain. And that's fine, but at least get it underway. Don't be too afraid to let the lights out and let them go. They are the best drivers. They say they are the best drivers. Let's prove it. And I can't think of another time when F1 start has been delayed because they don't think the drivers have the ability to drive the car to the conditions. That's just silly. What if a car has oil coming out of it? Like, well, we haven't had oil track running all weekend. We better stop the race. Let everyone get an opportunity. No. Just let it go. Let them drive. They did fine. I just don't get it. Then, once they had that delay, we'll start a little bit late. And then the power goes out. If they only had taxes, think about this, Monaco. If you pay some taxes, you might have some local infrastructure and you won't lose power. 1 hour later, Leclerc leads the field. Ferrari 1-2. They can't fuck this up, can they? Yes, they can. Ferrari once again have fucked it royally. Charles Leclerc gets on pole again, doesn't bin his car in the wall like Perez, and Sainz spun to avoid him, blocking the racetrack so no one could finish their Q3 runs. So Leclerc was on pole, going into the distance comfortably. Then Ferrari fuck it up, just as Ferrari always do. Too weak to make a strategic call to put on a different set of tyres to possibly take on the 1-2 in the previous race. And now, calling him in, and then as soon as he comes in, go, no, stay out. Really? How can you be that dumb to fuck that up? You knew Sainz was coming in. The tyres were ready. There was 2 sets of tyres, so everyone knew that he was coming in as well. If Sainz had come in early, which I don't think he did, he was waiting for that dry tyre cutoff, and he did, and it happened, and he came second. Where would Charles have been? Don't know. He should have won that race. Sergio had inters on, and then he went to dries. I think if anyone didn't go on inters, they're a bit dumb. Especially if you're outside the top 10. If you want to get a point, if you want to make a difference in a wet race, waiting till you go on dries, you will get nowhere. Because we know there'll be a train track full of dry line, and if you happen to just veer off from that dry line by 5 centimetres, you will crash into the wall like Mick Schumacher did, tearing the car in twain. It was disappointing when you see teams like the McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo, when you see Pierre Gasly, who started P17, finish P11 because they took a chance to go on inters early and to make it work. And he did. He made overtakes. And if anyone who went on inters made overtakes, on a place you can't overtake, they made overtakes because they had an intermediate tyre on. You make up that time on that tyre very, very quickly. But they didn't. No risk, no reward. If you don't throw shit against the wall, it's not going to stick. Don't just keep it in your hand with a big pile of warm mess. Throw it. That's all you have to do. Take a risk. Not pitting and waiting for dry tyres, you can't attack anyone. Because if you try and overtake someone on your dry tyres, you have to go off the dry line to do it. And then you can't brake. Intermediates was the only way to move forward. Silly, silly moves. Anyone in the bottom 8. They shouldn't be strategists. They should be thrown in to the Monaco harbour. Now, Will Monaco be renewed? The contract's up. That could be the last Grand Prix. Flavio Briatore in all his fineness, that overweight G-string wearing weird man, he says that in a couple of weeks they'll announce it and it will be renewed. Because he's a man that's in the know, not because he makes those deals, it's just that he's a man with his ear against the ground. Now another man who's the leader of the conglomerate of fuckwits, the FIA, Ben Sulayem, a silly name, is a nitpicking son of a bitch. Now, he says Niki Lauda and Alain Prost only cared about driving. Now Vettel drives a rainbow bicycle, Lewis is passionate about human rights, and Norris addresses mental health. How dare they speak their mind? How the audacity of these drivers speaking up against human rights, gay rights, riding a rainbow bicycle around. How dare you? Now I hope every driver, every team, I don't care if it's virtue signalling, just to stick it up, Ben Sulayem's tight little twat, everyone wear rainbow. Rainbow helmets, rainbow gloves, rainbow fucking underwear when they go and check them to see if they're wearing them right. Have a rainbow tattoo on the middle of your forehead. Have a rainbow cock ring. He has to fucking take it off. Everything fucking rainbow. Make a stand. Talk about the issues. And if he's not happy about that, he started this jewelry fiasco. Everyone's got to take their jewelry off. It's not safe. Because he's pissed off that Lewis Hamilton didn't turn up to his fancy party at the end of last year after being disparagingly, after he had the shit way that it ended. I can understand not wanting to go to a party. The man didn't post on social media, and his social media is more important than his Ben Sulayem's party. And if he wants the drivers to just drive, not to stand up or speak out or just voice their opinion, because they are asked their opinion, they should just drive. And then once the race stops, the telecast should stop immediately, because that's all we're apparently wanting to care about or what we don't know about. Bang, race is over. Don't interview anyone. Don't talk to anyone. Don't show the personalities. Don't interview them live. Don't ask them their opinion. You say sport shouldn't be political, yet you cancel the Russian race. But bombs can go off in Saudi Arabia. The race still goes ahead. And then there's a state with a horrendous human rights record and massive inhumane COVID lockdown. That's right, Melbourne Grand Prix. Where am I going with this? Nerang. Nerang is safer than Saudi Arabia. It doesn't run out of power, and it has some of the finest prostitutes we've seen since the 1988 Hungarian Grand Prix. Now, I'm off my pedestal. Pete and I were sitting on the couch, producer Pete that is, managing to mix this perfectly. We're sitting here practice round like, who's going to bin it? Who's going to hit the wall in qualifying to just fuck it up? He went with Latifi. I went with Stroll. Stroll came out, bang, hit the wall, exited Pachine. Perfect. Excellent timing. And then the billionaire boys just showed how mediocre they are by hitting the walls on the outlap of the race. I don't know if it's a billionaire thing or a Canadian thing. Latifi said it didn't turn. The car didn't turn going down to the Fairmont hairpin. It didn't turn because you locked up. When your front wheels don't spin, they can't turn. Just a heads up, dummy. An idea to make Formula 1 great again? My idea is to bring back Michael Massey. What would have happened? The race would have started at the designated time that would have happened. Would someone else lose the championship because of it? Maybe. Doesn't matter. Race rating, 8 out of 10. First Checo Perez, the Tijuana Tussler. Second, Minifon's Carlos Sainz. And third, Mad Max Verstappen. Now, the race by drivers, Max got 15 points, qualified fourth, finished third. Perez, 25 points with the win, qualified third, finished first. He did have an intermediate stint. and then went on to the hards. Leclerc, 12 points, qualified on pole, finished 4th off the podium. His bad luck at his home race continues, but will he ever get back to the Principality to drive on his home streets again? We don't know. Not until a new deal is struck. Sainz, 18 points, qualified 2nd, race 2nd. Hamilton, 4 points, qualified 8th, finished 8th. Russell, 10 points, qualified 6th, finished 5th ahead of his teammate. He is pantsing Lewis Hamilton. As I predicted, the douche canoe goes backwards away from his teammate. Lando Norris, Chuck Norris, he gets 9 points. He got 6th place in the race, and he got the fastest lap as well. Qualified 5th. Good job by him. Daniel Ricciardo qualified 14th, finished 13th. Didn't take a risk, waited for the hard tyres, waited for dries. Stupid move, terrible mistake. Take a chance, you're going nowhere at Monaco. You might as well not turn up if you're not willing to go different in the tyre strategy. It's Monaco. You're not going to overtake unless you're on a different tyre. Nah. Yep, that was me banging my head against the microphone because it didn't fucking make sense. For anyone that didn't change onto the Inters and you're in the back half of the field, you're going nowhere and you're impressing no one. The one man who did impress was Pierre Gasly, qualified 17th, finished 11th. Now, 17th, terrible qualifying for Gasman. He's been poor compared to his teammate. Tsunoda qualified 11th and finished 17th. They swapped positions. Very nice of them. Good teamwork. But Gasly, he was asked after the race if he was disappointed that he was just missed the points. He's like, no, I went from 17th and made a fight through the field and got to overtake people. That's the opportunity that someone who takes a risk, that the team goes, what have we got to lose? If you're not in the points, you've got nothing to lose, so have a crack. Next one is Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin. Got a point. He qualified 9th, finished 10th. Lance Stroll, I think he still lost. He qualified 18th, finished 14th. He did bang the barriers in the warm-up to the grid. There wasn't a grid. It ended up being a rolling start. Bottas, 2 points, qualified 12th, finished 9th. Good job. I did say Bottas is a chance of a podium. I was incredibly wrong. My tips, my random chucking shit against the wall, seeing what sticks, did not work. Magnussen didn't have a great weekend. Bottas didn't have a great weekend. I was full of shit when it came to making predictions for Monaco. Zhou Guan Yu, whatever you want to call him, the Great Wall of China, qualified dead last in 20th. Over a second behind, I think it was Latifi. Who else is going to qualify 9th to be but Latifi? Raced into 16th, which was, I think, second last of the runners that were going. Magnussen qualified 13th, finished 20th. He was dead last. He had a mechanical issue. Schumacher 15th, raced to 19th, crashed into the wall, went off on the telecast. They're like, oh, yeah, they must have had a tyre thing. But when you saw him entering the swimming pool, the second apex of the swimming pool, he was wide of it. I'm like, oh, that's not good. And then you saw his rear wheel going on just off onto that wet line, and he absolutely smashed that car into 2 bits. Gunther Steiner's not happy with him because he keeps crashing the car, and at a time where you're trying to save money because there's a salary cap, you can't go over the salary cap. The more he crashes the car, the less that they can actually improve the car and update the car and try and make it quicker. So it's unfortunate. The more he crashes, the more money that they're spending repairing it, which means they can't do updates later on in the year. Will Schumacher stay in the seat for the rest of the year? I doubt it. I think they'll find someone else. Who? I don't know. Mazepin's not a chance of coming back this year and probably not F1 ever again. Alonso, 6 points, qualified 7th, finished 7th. Great job. He's had some bad luck recently in the race, but he did a solid job around the Principality. Ocon also did a solid job he qualified 12th. He was in the points, but he got a 5-second penalty, which knocked him out. Alonso tried to back the pack up and then make a gap for Ocon to get that 5 seconds, but it was unsuccessful. Albon finished 16th. Qualified 16th, finished 18th. Sorry, he also had an issue, did not finish the race. Latifi qualified 19th. A strong showing by the Canadian to be in the 107% because it's rare. I think there'll be a race this year where he'll be so shit he won't be deemed quick enough to start the race, and that 107% rule will be brought back and will keep him out of a Grand Prix. And I look forward to that because that will force Williams' hand into making sure they get a decent driver. He raced up to 15th, which was, I think, just ahead of Guan Yu Zhou, dead last in 16th. Yep, he was the second last. Awards for the Grand Prix of Monaco, the Green Award, giving it to lowering your carbon footprint. For those teams who may not finish the race, but they exit early, they save fuel, they save the environment. Congratulations. We're giving it to the Haasholes. Congratulations to both Junior Schumacher and the mechanical retirement of Suck My Balls Magnussen getting the Green Award there. They can pin that up onto their many shelves that they've got heaps of green awards. The Likkerton Centre Award for making great overtaking passes or a great overtaking manoeuvre. We're giving it to Pierre Gasly. A lot of great overtaking manoeuvres. He clearly overtook more than anyone else. There was a good couple other manoeuvres, but Gasly is the man on the move, and I appreciated his moves, and I think they were fan-fucking-tastic. Pastor Maldonado Award for dangerous driving. We're giving that to Mick Schumacher for not only binning his car, but also ripping it in two. It takes a special talent, and that only maybe a Schumacher could do by putting it in the wall and tearing it into two pieces. The Yuji Ide Award for wasting your time, my time, the valuable time of everyone who watches Formula One. The Waste of Time Award, which is Yuji Ide. Anyone in the bottom 8 who didn't have a crack and didn't put on a intermediate tyre and have a crack at it. Pete has been busy whittling away all of those awards for the Yuji Ide Award. The F1 Podcast Award for making Formula One great again. It's Pierre Gasly again for taking a crack, making some overtaking manoeuvres and making it interesting out there. And now, the final award of this fine Grand Prix. Now I've got to turn this on. Oh no, wrong award. Now the Your Shit Award, we are giving it to. I've just had news come to hand, a bit of a note from my sidekick, a bit of my lawyer's insight. She's kind of like, if anyone's seen the movie The Castle, and where he's got his sidekick, Dennis Denuto. We've got a Dennis Denuto as part of this podcast that just hands me notes. And I just look at it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this award to my note hander. Not the Your Shit Award, but what she wrote on it was perfect. The Your Shit Award goes to the FIA. For not only, they can't get the UGE Award, right? They wasted everyone's time by delaying the race and then making up fucking, no one's driven in the wet before this weekend. We can't let them drive. No. You're getting the Your Shit Award because you're a bit shit. The race should have started on time, FIA. Stop fucking about. Thank you to my trusty assistant, Dennis Denuto. Now, the fastest lap was Lando Norris with a 1 minute 14.693. The fastest pit stop was Red Bull Racing with a 2.30 pit stop. That's come to a stop, take all 4 tyres off, put 4 tyres on, drop the car in 2.3 seconds. Pretty fucking phenomenal. Very quick. Driver of the day was Sergio Perez, according to everyone in F1.com who voted. The third championship, now it's clearly the most important championship in Formula 1. The leader is Junior Schumacher on negative 74 points. Nicholas Latifi on the negative 69 points. Great Wall of China is negative 63. Suck My Balls Magnussen, negative 53. And the Minifon Signs, negative 50. There is no newcomers to the third championship. The One at the very bottom of the turd, who's least turd-like, comes from the douche canoe. He's on -4 points. The tips, Jim. Cliff, you didn't put in your tips for the race, mate. What's going on? So we've given you the Pete's score. You had 7 and 8 after qualifying, so you were on for a good weekend. But suck it. You didn't put your tips in for the race, but we've given you Pete's total of 12. T had 13, Pat 13, myself 14. Just want to say, I won another weekend. The total points are, Cliff, you're on 86. I'm on 92. Pat's on 94. Jimmy, 89. T, 87. Pete, 82. Good year, that one, 1982. Now, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Now, this is a 6.003 kilometre track, 51 laps. Now, this is a relatively new circuit when it comes to Formula One. The lap record is from Charles Leclerc with a 1 minute 43.009, a race distance of 306.049 kilometres. As I said, 51 laps, first Grand Prix 2016, 2 DRS zones, and there is a total number of, how many corners is there? 20? 20 corners. There's a few kinks that they're calling corners, which I'll just call them kinks. The tyres for this weekend, it's a C3, C4, C5. The 3 softest compounds, the same compounds that were in at Monaco. Now, this is the information everyone wants to know every time I talk on this podcast. What's the minimum starting pressures, Luke? Well, the front tyres are 24.5 psi, minimum starting pressures, and the rears are 21.5 psi on the rear. This is subject to change after free practice 2. The rear camber, maximum rear camber is 1.79 degrees, and the front camber is 3.25 degrees. Very, very important. You need to know. The weather, Friday, a little bit cloudy, 18 to 26. Saturday, 17 to 28. And Sunday, 19 to 29. Looks like there's not going to be rain on the Saturday, Sunday. Doesn't look like this rain going to be Friday. It's just going to be overcast. Was it last year they raced it? Yes, Charles Leclerc got pole position and Sergio Perez won the race ahead of Vettel and Gasman Gasly. Now, last year Verstappen had a big tyre blowout. Hamilton locked his tyres up and went into the first, after the last lap dash that they had. Hamilton left a mode on. He turned it off, turned it back on again, and then he just went straight off into the first corner. When you think about the championship last year, if Hamilton had finished that race, even if he finished second, he was leading into that corner. If he had finished that race in the points, he would have won the championship last year. If he didn't make that button mistake, if he didn't fuck that start up, he would have been the world champion. If Alonso didn't keep him behind him for so long in Hungary, he probably would have won that race, would have won him the championship. Alonso cost him another championship, which he probably cost him in Hungary in 2007. Interesting. Now, what else is coming up this weekend? The race times. Your time around the world, Auckland, New Zealand, Sunday, 11 p.m. Nerang, Australia, which is the most important time for everyone. It's 9 p.m. Good time to watch a Formula One race. Nice and early. It's 2 hours early from the previous Grand Prix. Sydney, 9 p.m. Adelaide, 8:30. Perth, Australia, on the western coast of Australia, is 7 p.m. Kathmandu, Nepal, if you're up in Mount Everest base camp and you want to watch the Formula One race, well, you better get up. Well, it's in the afternoon, so it'll be nice. At 4:45 p.m. You've probably just summited. You're on your way down. You're going through, I don't know, a certain part of the descent, the terrifying descent of Mount Everest after seeing the beautiful top of the world. It's 4:45 p.m. You'll be watching it. Helsinki, Finland, 2 p.m. Copenhagen, Denmark, 1 p.m. London, England, midday. Montevideo, Uruguay, 8 a.m. New York, USA, 7 a.m. Los Angeles, Sunday, 4 a.m. Now, and Hawaii, of course, 1 a.m. Sunday morning. All the race times of all the important places are on a Sunday. No Monday mornings. Congratulations. Now, local food, the mum's Mrs. Luke, as Adam used to call it, it's an all plov and all char plov all week, and my gas has been off the charts. Enjoy the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I will talk to you next time.